It's a good thing that I don't sing. Good thing I don't have Jay Snip, Joe's penchant for songs, because I'd sing "It's the End of the Woo" as you knew it. And it's actually probably the end of the woo, period. In that, well, no. Oh, it's difficult to say that definitively, but we're rapidly approaching a date. We know the end of the woo date. We're quite certain of that. It's going to be early June. This is known because the end of the woo is going to coincide with the release of the report from the deep state percolate up through the defense intelligence agencies into the political realm, all about UFOs. And so this is the end of the woo. That is a peak point of the OverWoo. If you want to go back and look at one of the previous videos, you can see a discussion about the breakdown of the official paradigm and the swamping of that by the woo. And woo is everything that is ignored, denigrated, cast off, or denied by officialdom. Okay, so the woo is everything that's outside the officialdom paradigm. And we're about to have a big giant crack through the officialdom paradigm as the UFO report comes up through the United States government and into the level of the political realm, where I expect it'll leak out like, water out of a sieve. And a lot of people haven't understood this, but that's truly the end of the woo. Because at that point, or the beginning of the end, now it's not like it's the definitive end that day that the report is released. And this will be without regard to whatever may be in that report. Because we know that the UFO phenomenon is real, and that it's been the subject of denial and ridicule, obfuscation, put down for so many decades now, maybe centuries, we don't know. In any event, so this is going to be a crossing of a particular line, and we'll never be able to go back once the government starts handing out some information. And they've already done this. The US military has already started the process with the release of the videos from the Nimitz and other vessels relative to UFOs that were captured on their telemetry. And bear in mind, the videos and stuff they released were exceptionally limited when you consider the full range of antennae sticking out of any of those vessels. We should have been able to have assayed their presence and sampled the existence of the UFO in dozens of frequencies, if not hundreds, and seen it everything from visible light to, who the hell knows? I mean, their capabilities are far beyond my ability to speculate. So we're likely to find out more information and more information of a higher quality, and that is the beginning. It's a little drip that starts this process that's going to become a flood. And it does not matter what's in that information. The mere fact that there is information for them to release causes so much to change within the social order that it's the end of the woo. No longer will officialdom, through the mainstream media, through Congress, through presidents, or any of that, no longer will they be able to deny the existence of UFOs, which instantly brings up the speculation, are there space aliens? Which brings up speculation in so many areas, it's, it instantly busts open any press conference or any idea that the elites might have had that they were going to be on a particular track, on an agenda, on a press conference. No press conference from the point that they released that information thereafter will, for years likely, will fail to address this information and then die as they dive into it because it goes so many different ways and affects so much of what is human society. Now, we face a terrible crisis here, all right? We as humans. This terrible crisis is potentially species threatening. This may be one of the reasons, it probably is one of the cited reasons that they've withheld information for so long and have been unwilling to incorporate this into the officialdom paradigm. There are ways to do that, but those ways were outside of the boundaries of their normal box and regular way of thinking, and therefore never would have occurred to them, and so they never saw any of the solutions that were available, okay? But the species threatening aspect is that no culture here on Earth has ever survived a contact with a higher, more advanced, technically advanced culture. So that's something to bear in mind, right? We're going to get instantly that we start thinking of space aliens and these UFOs from officialdom as directed or driven craft that implies the something that is driving them, and that something is likely not human as we would know it, or would potentially not human as we would know it. So this, and even if it is a human, it doesn't matter, because it brings up the whole shattering of our social order. So our culture is going to be a primitive, very, very primitive culture being contacted by a very advanced, technically advanced culture. And we're going to have shock waves go through our social order. The question is now, what will our social order look like if it survives this process? And that's no exaggeration. I mean, this is so deep a subject, so deep a woo, that its depth is unknown. It is impenetrable. We will never be able to dive deep enough to find the bottom of this particular area of woo, because there's no aspect of our social order that will remain the same once that officialdom contact is acknowledged. Whether that contact is, we know all about them, they're 8 foot high and blah, 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 right? Or we know there's UFOs and we admit that there's UFOs, but we don't know what the fuck they are. Or anything about who's driving them. And we're pretty freaked out about it, right? And so regardless of what path we go down in terms of the split there, the questions remain. How far more advanced are they than us? Will we be able ever to catch up? Our internal sense of humanity's self is going to be placed and exposed for us to look at the instant that this disclosure occurs sometime over these next couple of months. The military here in the United States, for a variety of, I think, for a variety of reasons, it is my conclusion from a variety of evidence that there is some thinking in the US military at that level of our officialdom here in the United States that they need to prepare the citizens of the United States and the world for what is coming in these next few months with that release. Okay, regardless of how big it is, how much is in there, how much they're lying about, how much they redact, it does not matter. Because they're going to be releasing something that will break this barrier, right? The barrier being that the unofficial denial of UFOs and the existence of them and all of this kind of stuff and how they're beyond our capability and all of the other infinite questions that arise just by considering the subject of UFOs in the context of our social order these last 80 plus years. Once admitted by government, once the UFOs are admitted by government as being something that they're not doing and likely no other government on earth is doing, no other parties on earth are doing, and once that is done, there's no going back. Society is changed forever, and that's the beginning of the end of woo, because thereafter government can't deny officially any damn thing. You know, you could say, hey, shit, I ran over a leprechaun on you know, State Route 8 over here the other night. It was dark, I didn't see him. He's green, he blended right in with all the damn trees. Go whoomp, and he's smushed. And they'd have to accept it. Hell, you got UFOs. The government acknowledges it, right? So is it outlandish that a guy should plow into a leprechaun crossing the road and smush him all over State Route 8? Well, it might be, but nonetheless, you see the point. We're going to get to the point. We are at that point, and it's coming in a couple of months. I know that the military is a little interested, maybe anxious, maybe a little sketched out about it. I don't think they're afraid per se, but I think they're very interested in how we're all going to react, and they're doing things to prime the pump. Because of these recent last couple of days, the discussion by various key players about challenging the officialdom narrative on UFOs and so on, right? And where they're actually prepping us for what may come into that report using ex-officialdom personnel, you know, leaders to do that prepping. So somebody up there is putting some thought into how this is going to impact all of us guys. And what they should do to potentially guide how it impacts all of us guys, right? In other words, this is the massaging of the narrative and preparing of channels ahead of time for what someone knows is coming. Now, we don't know what's coming, but we've got some really good hints. Some of the things that they're talking about the other day. One of them was the 2019 tic-tac drones that accompanied these battleship groups. And the really key part to take away from that, there's one little section, if you go find those articles about it, and that one little section is that the drones flew at a deliberate eye-level height to the bridge and maintained that height. Now bear in mind, these guys don't have propellers on them. They're not drones as we would. They've got no little wings. They're just smooth littler versions of the tic-tac UFO. And we still don't know what their propulsion mechanism is, but it's sufficient to be able to maintain, you know, whatever the cruising speed was of that battleship. You know, they might have been going slow. Might have been 3 or 4 knots. And, you know, that would be most impressive. Anyway, so, but that was an attempt to say, hey, we're watching you watch us, right? We know you're seeing us. We want you to see us. And then the question must come up, why do they want us to see them, and now? So maybe we're getting to that point where our government, knowing that the UFOs are going to be making an appearance, are doing things to prep us all, and this report is just one of those things to prep us all. And that would make sense. In any event, though, regardless of without regard to the motivation and without regard to the players in the release of this information coming up by June as a result of the executive order put in back in last year, we're going to get a flood of overwooing, right? Because the paradigm's going to crack. They're going to have to admit that there's UFOs. That's going to affect everybody. So MSM is now even in a further level down than they were before, right? They're not even the flea on the dog's back. They're the flea that's the dog's just about to shit on. Because they've been denying that stuff and ridiculing everybody and been the pimp for all of the dirty deceit all of these years. Bear in mind that there's all these coins involved in all these other sides of the same coin of information coming out. So we're presented with this nugget of information here that UFOs exist, which means instantly that all of the official denial was bullshit. All the official denial was theater. All the official denial was our taxpayers going to a deliberate attempt to deceive us away from truth and reality and understanding reality in a way that affects our lives. And now also imagine how all of the people that support the officialdom paradigm and have denied UFOs all these years are going to feel. All of those that were useful idiots, they're all going to feel like shit. Now, think of all of the people in academia. I can think of dozens of sections of academia where the top dogs are going to throw up, and many of them may actually suicide, okay, because they're too long in the tooth, too old in their careers to accept and change with this information. So evolutionary biology, as it applies to humans, is one. You know, it doesn't make a lot of sense for humans to have evolved on a planet that we can't live on without our technology, at least at the basic level of clothes and fire. And there's no credible evidence that there's ever been a microclimate that was clement enough for humans to survive in overnight for the length of a human life. In other words, humans go into hypothermia as the temperature approaches even into the 60s sometimes, right? So we're not necessarily native to this planet. We've always been here, designed to live here, but only designed to live here with the support of the technology of clothing and fire, that kind of thing. So evolutionary biologists are now going to have to say, oh, fuck, evolution exists, we can see it in other species, we can see it across these parameters, but maybe it doesn't apply to us because maybe we were brought here, right? Or created here by some other species. So biology is just going to be thrown all wacky. Now, it's going to be really cool to be a biologist when we're getting into interacting with alien species. You know, E.T. biologist is going to be a cool professional title to have, if you know what you're doing. I mean, not just take the title, but do the science. But basically, all of our sciences are going to be garbage, because it means that all of the, as we understand it, all of the general relativity, special relativity, quantum mechanics, and other deviations of sanity in that ilk are all bogus and bullshit via what officialdom is saying. That here are craft with no waste product propulsion hovering there or going faster than the apparent speed of light with no additional effort, no inertia, and it doesn't fit in any of the theories we've got. Except it might fit in with that ether shit. We got to go back a few hundred years to look at that. But anyway, that aside, our current science is garbage. Physicists will be, committing seppuku and cutting their guts with their well, I don't even think they have pencils anymore, but they'll do it. They'll because they'll just be so torn up by all of this, and our whole society is instantly upended once it gets up to that level of the physics, the academics starting to break down there. It alters our understanding of electricity. It alters our understanding of all aspects of the universe. It alters our understanding of cosmology. As I said, evolution, including planetary evolution. It is a near-term peak of OverWoo that is going to lead to these massive amounts of overwooing in the near future. And at some point, what they're going to do here in the next couple of months will actually cause the end of woo, in the sense that we will have a more reality-based narrative, and we won't have stuff denied by officialdom just to fit their agenda, right? It's okay to deny things if there's no basis for that thing in reality, right? It's okay to deny those elements as being not within the perceivable, accessible, shared reality. That being the case, but it's not acceptable to deny those things that are within that reality and are manifesting. And that's where we've been having this cognitive dissonance for all this time. Basically, for all these 80 years or whatever that our reality's been screwed up. So, of course, mainstream media has forever changed as of June 1 or whatever. So all this will happen sometime in early June when the official report comes on out and they hand it to somebody to read to somebody else to say that they actually read it to Biden. And at that point, it'll leak out, come out all over the place, and we'll know all about it. And so right then, all of interhumanity relationships change, okay? Because people will start asking themselves, well, who the fuck cares if you're racist? As long as you're a fucking human, it's all of us guys against them. You know, we don't know what them are, but they're here, and we're weirded out. You know, we're freaked out by this shit. And so interhumanity changes, our relationships change the instant that this information comes out in June and starts spreading throughout the planet, breaking this officialdom denial barrier. The woo comes in big floods. All this stuff that's been denied all these years. And we're going to have to go through the garbage, right? We're going to have to go through ghosts. We're going to have to go through leprechauns. You know, whatever other kind of ancillary, diversionary sidetrack mini-woos that are out there. We'll have to go through all those things as we deal with this major woo that's cracked the officialdom paradigm and let all the woo pour in on us. So we've got interhumanity changes, race relationships change. Who cares what race you are? Who cares what your thinking is? You know, it's us guys against the bugs, that kind of thing, right? It's going to alter religions, all the hell and gone, all right? Isn't going to necessarily do away with them or anything. Many religions may in fact be strengthened because of the necessity thereafter for many people to have an aspect of faith bigger than themselves, but not them, in order to cling to, that we're going to be able to, as humanity, adapt to this information and get through it. That is, to arrive at something different on the other side of absorbing this, but something that is sustainable and able to take us forward into the future. It changes our cosmology instantly, because once you acknowledge that these ships are here and that you don't understand how they got here and that they apparently fly faster than the speed of light, they could be coming from anywhere, right? And so then you've got to start really examining all of these various different aspects of our understanding of universe, just because the government has finally admitted something they've been trying to deny, effectively sort of denying, for over 80 years. That we all knew they were denying at some point here in the recent times, but that we now have official confirmation that they were denying and diluting, trying to delude us and deceive us all, which of course that changes the relationship between ourselves and all of government, right? And so this is going to bring up every single weird conspiracy theory ever proffered by any and every insane mind out there. So you're going to have to get ready for the resurrection of all these grifters and fucktards out of the woo-woo world. And some of them are going to get traction and go for a while with the normies, because the normies are going to be swimming in this shit and they are not going to know what to do. They're not going to know, you know, is that a rope, or is that to grab on to get some sanity, or is that a space alien tentacle? So it's going to be that bad for them. And this all starts in a couple of months. This starts in June. You know, some of us that have been dealing with woo for years, it's like, you know, all right, so it's space aliens. It's going to be really cool. I'm really fascinated. And, you know, I can't wait for the used space alien spaceship lot to set up so I can start dickering for one of those things. Anyway, though, so, or, you know, hey, maybe we just jack the buggers. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm not inclined to be criminalistic about it. But anyway, so everything's going to change. You know, your professors in college were teaching you bullshit. and many of them, some of them knew, or some of them suspected that they knew. A lot of them in their gut knew. But now everybody's going to have to acknowledge that, you know, what you learned in high school, anything that you learned prior to the day that they announced this report, is bogus and bullshit, because everything changed that day. And that was the end of the woo. Because I'm saying it's the end of the woo, but it's sort of not. This is the way the woo is, right? The woo that can be named is not the woo. So the minute that they do this, they kill the idea of being able to label anything outside of their paradigm box as conspiracy theory, disinformation, bogus, or any of that. They can't deny anything, because they've let in the biggest thing they've been denying for 80 damn years. And so the woo has overturned them at that point. They've been overwooed, right? And in the process of overwooing, when the woo takes you over, everything becomes woo, right? And once you're swimming in the woo and nothing is denied, the woo is ended. So you're not free of the woo, but the woo is ended. And it'll take us decades to craft, maybe hundreds of years, who knows, to craft another official paradigm for which there may be woo. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a cool time. It's going to be really interesting to see all the various classes of people that have given me shit for years come unglued with this information and what it does to their realities. And here we are, guys. This is the point of it all. This is the time. 2 months from now. So prepare your mind and you know, be very aware. Society will change. Is it going to be like Orson Welles, you know, invasion of Earth by Mars critters over the radio? Are we going to have people freaking out in the street and that kind of thing? Probably. Probably. I'm certain there will be groups of people that take it badly, and there will be other groups that take it badly later on. So the reaction time is going to vary. It'll take some time to sink in. So this is part of the whole series here of, you know, woo-phobics, overwooing, all of that, the pulse of the woo, letting you know what this kind of stuff is going on. If you have a different paradigm to think about things, then you're not going to really freak out when a different paradigm comes on in that forces you to think about things differently. And that paradigm is coming pretty quick, just a couple of months now. So prepare yourselves. It's the end of the woo as you knew it. And it's going to be just great. So live long and prosper.